What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Itz Gametime podcast. This is episode number 38. My name is Jett, and with me, as always, is my co-host, Eric. Eric, how you doing today?
Doing fine, doing well. It's the Curt Schilling episode 38. So, yeah, I mean, we have big past week.
Yeah.
I talked about it in my IGTV podcast recap and preview for this week's coming episode. Yeah. So we'll talk about the games that happened, talk about the brackets. I'm tied for first. You're in second. Well, tied with probably multiple others for second. Then we got to talk also about the games this week, which hopefully will actually be interesting games.
I mean, hopefully they're a lot better. I mean, we're seeing with a lot of the teams that are in the playoffs this year, especially those 2 7 seeds and the Steelers and the Eagles, probably not deserving of being there. You can make an argument for other teams probably too that should have been there. Obviously, the Chargers, Colts, Dolphins, to name a few teams. But yeah, hopefully the games are a lot better this weekend. That'll really it can really make up for what we saw last week. But before we get started, Eric, I have a question for you. Have you ever been in a situation where you didn't know something and then you figured out that thing and then it's just like it's a totally different feeling?
Yeah. I mean, I've had a lot of that throughout my life. Yeah. And sometimes figuring it out on your own, it solves everything.
It's like a burden's being released from you, and it's like, you know, there's certain things once you find the answers to, you feel like you could just, you know, go to Vegas. You know what I mean?
Yeah. We spent the past 30 minutes really trying to, because we're doing a new segment. We're a betting segment. So before that, we needed to make sure we understood how Vegas worked, how money lines worked, how the spread. We know how the spread works, but betting on the spread, we needed to figure out. And it took us a little bit.
Yeah, full disclosure, Eric and I are not gamblers in sports betting or in regards to any betting as well. So we just wanted to make sure we get you the facts and all the knowledge in regards to what our favorite bets are for this week. And we got some help from a few of our betting expert friends in Connor P and Aaron Malloy. So thanks to them as well. They've been on the show before, but you ready to get this episode started?
Yeah, we'll save the betting segment towards the end.
That works.
So we can really get over with the other stuff and talk about other stuff that's happened. But the thing is that not a lot happened during the games. I mean, really, all the favorites just won. It's in the past hasn't really happened for wild card. Just not very by halftime, you're like, I know who's winning this game.
Well, yeah, there was just one upset, but you could argue it really wasn't even an upset. The 49ers beating the Cowboys. The Cowboys hadn't really beaten anyone good all year. Obviously, the 49ers won that game, and in a game that the Cowboys probably hurt themselves more than they should have if they really wanted
to start off with talking about that play calling, because we were talking about it when it was happening live.
Yeah,
and Cowboy fans. They want to blame the refs. The ref has to touch the ball. And another thing, Dak should know to hand the ball to the ref, not to a center, because you see running backs do that. You see wide receivers do that. You see them do that at the end of games. They hand the ball to the ref because the ref has to touch it to do the official spot. All right. And you can't get mad at the ref. The ref's not Tyreek. He can't run down the field in 2 seconds.
Yeah.
All right.
I mean, I think a perfect example of what we've seen the right thing to do is we've seen Larry Fitzgerald time and time again be the guy that if he gets a reception and is on the ground, he makes sure he gets that ball to the official right away. And I think another thing is even before that play, running the QB sneak or QB draw, QB run with Dak. Probably
that happened. Yeah, that happened.
Probably wasn't the best play call, but I saw this video from Dan Orlovsky on ESPN where he kind of analyzed this whole situation, and it really seems like a lot of the players on this Dallas Cowboys offense, their football IQ is maybe not where it should be. That's someone like Dak. And there were also a few wide receivers that were just very lax while they were getting ready for this next play to begin. They weren't really rushing to the line. Obviously, Dak gave the ball to the center when obviously, even though the ball was in that same spot, the ref, like you said, has to touch the ball before the quarterback. So a lot of mental errors, it seems like the Cowboys had there, but obviously they hurt themselves and they will be on the couch this weekend. So.
Yeah, we saw it live. Did not understand that play call. I don't understand the QB sneak, but Dak should have went down earlier. He went down too late.
Yes, that's another thing.
He should have went down earlier. They were playing. The defense was playing the sideline, obviously, because Dak was picking them apart down the field by going to the sideline, which is the correct thing to do. But even throwing the ball to the center of the field, all right, is quicker than him doing a QB draw.
Definitely.
You probably would have had your 2 seconds then.
Definitely.
So I don't get it. If the play call coming from the sideline is a QB draw, as Dak should have seen that the defense is playing the sideline, should have audible to their wide receivers doing a quick slant to the center of the field where there was actually nobody. You could have gotten 15 yards.
Yeah.
You could have gotten the same distance of the run in half the time.
Right. Obviously, they would have done that. Then the next play should have been a Hail Mary, which obviously that's what they were planning on doing if they had time. Obviously, the chances of that working out are small, but we didn't even get to see it happen. So they'll never know if they would have converted that Hail Mary or not because they didn't have the opportunity to try and make that happen. But,
and they said, and I think McCarthy said that they've practiced this in their 2-minute drills. You doing this in practice, you can't take it into account during practice that there's going to be a defender on you that's going to slow you up, all right? That the ref is going to have to run 20 yards and then accidentally run into Dak and the center. He's trying to fit into a tiny slot. You can't expect him to do that perfectly. There's a lot of stuff that needed to go perfect that it just did not seem like a great play call at all. It was just, and honestly, that it shouldn't have even happened to that because it was that 4th and inches.
Yeah.
And Garoppolo just did not even let his lineman
Trent Williams wasn't set.
He didn't even let it. You were not in a rush. It was not 2 seconds left when he made that motion. You had time. Just look to both sides, make sure everyone's set, and we all thought he was going to get it. It was fourth and an inch, really. It wasn't 4th and inches. It was 4th and an inch. Yeah. So it shouldn't. Cowboy fans, it shouldn't even gotten to that. No. You guys should have lost.
They were lucky it even got to that point, and they didn't take advantage. Obviously, I mean, I personally believe that someone needs to be held accountable for that. Whether it's the offensive coordinator, Kellen Moore, has actually been getting a bunch of interviews with other teams. I don't know how you sit in these interviews now after that type of play call in a playoff game. Obviously, Mike McCarthy gave the go ahead with that play call as well. Obviously, a lot of this is on Dak Prescott for not just being in the moment and understanding what the circumstances were. So there are a few people to blame, but I think the people that we should not be blaming are the refs.
No, you can't blame the refs. They did what they were meant to do. I mean, you can't expect him to be Tyreek running down the field. You can't expect him to fit in between 2 linemen perfectly, and he accidentally tumbled into Dak because they were both trying to get to where they needed to be at. Blame the players for not executing. Blame the coaches for not putting their players in the position to execute.
Right.
So that was an eventful end of the game. Yeah. The other eventful game really was the Bengals Raiders game. A lot of reffing mishaps there to where those refs are no longer going to be reffing a game in the playoffs.
Yeah. Jerome Boger and his crew are usually a staple throughout the NFL playoffs. Obviously looked like they were leaning towards one direction in this game. Obviously, the Bengals ended up winning 26-19. But one thing, the Raiders, it looks like they definitely deserve to be here with all the stuff that went on throughout the year. With the new coach,
Came down to the last play of the game.
They stuck in there this whole way. The Bengals look like they're for real. Obviously, they're a very young team, so we'll see if they can continue this run. But hats off to the Raiders for the job they did though this year.
Yeah, the great job. Did you see their head coach? He did handwritten letters to all of his every player.
Amazing. That's amazing that he did that. Yeah,
you don't Raiders see that often. Raiders did fire their GM, so we'll get to see the maybe now they're not gonna put it on themselves to fire the coach. Right. They may put it on the new GM to bring in a new guy, his guy.
Yeah, I mean, you have to acknowledge what this guy did in obviously after John Gruden left, he took over and he rallied this team to the playoffs. More likely than not, an interim head coach isn't going to stick around just because, especially now with the new GM, there's probably going to be other options on their radar. But I think he definitely deserves a lot of consideration to definitely stay.
The next game, Saturday night game, Patriots Bills. We both picked that upset. We were honestly kind of confident.
Yeah,
we were. And wow, did you know that was in NFL history, that was the first game where a team had a perfect offensive performance.
Really?
They didn't miss they scored a touchdown on every single drive. They didn't throw an interception. They didn't have a fumble. They didn't have a turnover on downs. It was perfect all the way to the knee down.
That's insane. Considering the defense they were playing against. I mean,
the conditions.
Exactly.
And the conditions. I mean, this was around 0.
Yeah.
0 degrees. And first time in NFL history, not playoff history, NFL history, where someone a team has had a perfect offensive game, and you could see it. Josh Allen was just picking apart the Patriots defense that claimed to be top tier.
Yeah.
Not during that game.
Based off of that game, it looks like the Bills are definitely even with some of their losses they had throughout the regular season, they clearly won it bad this year, and obviously their road isn't going to get much easier with their matchup against the Chiefs. But the Bills were firing on all cylinders. Obviously, for the Patriots, we had more faith that the defense was going to be able to slow down the Bills' offense. Obviously, it was Mac Jones' first NFL playoff game, so he got a lot to learn from that. But I mean, I think it just shows that maybe the Patriots their record was a little bit better than what they actually were, like with a lot of the teams in the playoffs. So, but the Bills definitely deserve to continue on in this playoffs.
After that performance, absolutely. That Josh Allen proved himself to be a top quarterback, definitely. Top 5 possibly.
I agree.
The game we were able to go.
Yes.
And it was, I'm very grateful for being able to go.
For different price points.
Still grateful that we were able to go. We went to the Eagles-Bucks game. Perfect weather.
Yeah.
I could wear jeans and a sweatshirt and I was feeling comfy.
Nice.
And you don't get that a lot down here in Tampa.
No, I mean there was a little rain, but other than that, the weather was perfect. And even despite some of the injuries the Buccaneers had in that game, which could affect them down the road, they really took care of the Eagles. The 15 points the Eagles put up, that was in garbage time. Eagles, it was a good experience for our young team, and obviously they have a bright future ahead of them. But the Buccaneers look good even without some of their key guys.
Now, do you think they didn't? Do you think that they looked sloppy at all?
In the beginning, I do think they had a lot of drops by some of their receivers. I think it was like Tyler Johnson and Brashad Perryman, but towards the conclusion of the game, that's when they really started to pick it up. Mike Evans and Gronk both had solid games, as well as Keyshawn Vaughn in Fournette's absence was
Bernard
was
scored the first touchdown of the game.
He was out there. Yeah, he was out there. But hopefully they can get Fournette back this week.
Ronald Jones.
Yes. Then him too. He was out. That's right.
Because that's a big part of their game is that power running, because their passing game complements their running game.
Mm-hmm.
It gives Brady even more time to throw because of the threat of running, and so they weren't even full strength, and they may. I mean, they are missing Chris Godwin, but if they get Fournette and Ronald Jones back against the Rams, they may not look sloppy.
It's gonna be even more key because the Eagles got to Tom Brady a bunch of times due to the fact the Bucs were missing Tristan Wirfs.
Yes, he got injured during the game.
They're all pro, I believe, left tackle,
right tackle.
My bad. So that'll I think he was in a boot after the game, so it will be very interesting to see what his status is in this game, because obviously going up against a Rams defense that has Aaron Donald, Jalen Ramsey, Von Miller. I mean, that's if you don't have your key guys on the O-line, Tom Brady's gonna either have to get rid of the ball quickly or this could be one of those upsets we see this week.
Yeah. We talked about the 49ers Cowboys game. The next game, Steelers Chiefs. This was ugly for the first 5 possessions of both teams. There was 10 punts, I believe, before the first point was scored.
That's right. Yeah.
I mean, first quarter was like unwatchably bad. The Steelers kind of played the game that they needed to. They needed to yuck it up.
Yeah.
And they did, but you can only yuck it up for so long. Big Ben has to perform, and obviously he can't perform because of how old he was.
That was the biggest thing for the Steelers. If they were able to hold the Chiefs, which they did for the beginning of the game, they had to put up points, and they didn't do that. Obviously, TJ Watt and that Steelers defense, they did all they could. But when you have Patrick Mahomes and that explosive offense, when you have Travis Kelce even throwing touchdowns, they are definitely a hard team to beat.
Yeah, not much. The next game, even less to talk about. This game was over by the first quarter. The Rams Cardinals. It was 21-0 after the first quarter.
Kyler Murray looked like a guy that was playing in his first playoff game for sure.
Absolutely.
He didn't even look like he was the Kyler Murray we saw for most of the season. It was definitely, especially that one throw he made in his own end zone. That obviously ended up being a pick six.
Yeah, I mean, congratulations, Matthew Stafford. You won your first ever playoff game. Finally. Longest amount of games played before winning a playoff game.
Yeah.
So, congratulations. You're going up against the GOAT now in the divisional round. So, let's get right into that. What would be your there's one obvious one that is, I guess we can lead off with it. The Bills-Chiefs game. That is the most anticipated game, possibly of this entire playoffs, even possibly the Super Bowl, maybe.
It's a shame we couldn't get that as another AFC championship game, but unfortunately that's just how the playoffs worked out this year. But yeah, that game is, I mean, the line right now is Kansas City -1.5. It's a pick-me game either way. The Bills, I mean, honestly, I won't be surprised if the Bills win, even though they are not the favorites in this game. I get playing in Kansas City is a very tough place to play, but based off that performance from the Bills through the complete game, Eric mentioned all the history they broke in that game. The Chiefs started off slow, and if they start off slow against the Bills, you can have a totally different story than starting off slow against the Steelers.
Big Ben-led Steelers.
Big Ben-led Steelers he celebrated his retirement in that game. That's what it was.
Yeah. So. This is a very close game. Patrick Mahomes finally did turn it on. I mean, he threw for 5 TDs on his own, along with Josh Allen. It's just Josh Allen did it throughout the entire game.
Right.
Now, the Chiefs defense could be better than the Patriots defense this week. Obviously, the Chiefs defense completely shut down Big Ben. That's not saying much, but still, you shut down Big Ben for 5 straight possessions without letting them even score a field goal. So that's worth something. So and the Chiefs defense has been good as of recent. So it could be a little bit more problematic for Josh Allen. I don't really know who I'm going to pick here.
It's really tough.
Do you know?
Because in my bracket, I have the Chiefs winning this matchup. I believe you do as
I do too.
You do as well. But I'm gonna change it up a little bit. I don't think the Chiefs get it done in this one, just because it's that game against the Patriots. The Bills really showed me that maybe this is their year, and they've had trouble against the Chiefs in the playoffs in the past. But I mean, in the beginning of the season, we weren't sure if we were going to see the same Chiefs team ever show up. Obviously, they did towards the end of the year, but I just have a feeling that the Bills are going to pull one out, and it's going to be at Arrowhead. But I think they find a way to get the job done.
Really, I'm going to have to stick with my original pick with the Chiefs, mainly because it's at Arrowhead. I don't. It is worrisome how the Chiefs could just not get it started. TJ Watt is a game destroyer.
Yeah.
He really is all by himself. And the Bills don't really have that.
No.
They don't have TJ Watt at any position.
No.
So it's going to be an offensive game. We love offensive games. I'm going to have to stick with the line of -1.5. So I would stick with my original pick in the Chiefs. The next most anticipated game is probably also on Sunday, I would have to say.
Yes, I agree.
I don't. There's one game I wish was switched. The Saturday games, I wish those were switched.
I agree
but
with that.
Sunday, I'm fine with.
Yeah.
Last week there were a few. It didn't even matter. All the games were blowouts. But the Rams-Bucks games here in Tampa, maybe I'll be fortunate enough to be able to go to that game.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah.
Tampa Bay's -3. Rams looked good.
Last time these two teams played, the Rams won. That was in LA. This is another tough one. Not another tough one to pick. However, I'm gonna stick with my original pick here. Say the Bucks win, just because I can't see Tom Brady losing to the same team twice in 1 year. Especially even with all the injuries the Bucks have right now, I get it's going to be very hard to slow down guys like Aaron Donald and Von Miller on that defensive line. But I think Tom Brady has done a lot with less, and I think he does that same thing again. And this game is in Tampa, so I like the Buccaneers in this one.
The Rams look very, very good, and the Bucks did not look the best at the beginning. So it's similar to the other game. Is if you get off to a slow start, it's hard to come back.
Yeah,
because this is the cream of the crop now.
Yeah,
I mean this is after all these games. I want to go through a power ranking of like who's one, who's eight,
right?
In your honest opinion. For me, I'll stick with my original pick too. Brady, my pick theme was revenge.
That's right.
So I gotta stick with the revenge.
Yeah.
Brady, you can't bet against Brady. So give me the Bucks to win. I think they'll cover.
Yeah, I think they'll cover too. Another thing I want to point out is like we were both at the game. I mean, the crowd was electric, and that game wasn't even close. I can only imagine what it's going to be like in a game where it's probably going to be a lot more closer. I think I think the home field advantage is going to play a big part, and I think that still the Bucs are going to win. So.
Yeah. The next most anticipated game is probably the Bengals Titans game. Yep. That's at 4:00 on Saturday. Titans are favored by 3.5. Do you think that's a little small?
I do think it's small. Vegas obviously has a lot of faith in a very young Bengals team that, yes, they're probably one of the hotter teams in the NFL to close out the regular season and into the playoffs. But we're expecting to see Derrick Henry return for the Titans. He just made it through a contact practice, and he should look like he's good to go for this Saturday matchup. This big playoff matchup. Obviously, the Titans are the 1 seed, but it looks like they're going to be back to full strength, especially with Julio and AJ Brown on the outside. I just think it's too early for the Bengals to advance to an AFC championship game, and I feel like the Titans could make a lot of noise in the playoffs this year.
Absolutely. It's really the Bengals defense that Titans defense has been playing well.
Yeah.
Before the season started, everyone was worried about their defense. Very worried about their defense. Their defense has actually helped them win, been a reason why they've been winning games and earned that top seed since Derrick Henry and AJ Brown have been out the majority of the season.
Yep.
So it's really both offenses are prolific. We like Jamar Chase, Derrick Henry,
T. Higgins, Tyler Boyd, Julio, AJ Brown.
Yes, exactly.
It's a lot of fire.
Joe Mixon was like 4th on the Bengals list, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I think this comes down to who has the better defense, and I have to go with the streakier defense right now, and that's the Titans. The Bengals defense has been their weak link all season. I just don't think they could win in a shootout,
right? Because
you need to make 2 stops in a shootout, and I believe that the Titans can do that more so than the Bengals. So I'm going to have to stick with the number 1 seed. They earn the defense helped them earn that number 1 seed, and they're going to stay the number 1 seed.
I mean, when the Titans were fully healthy, and this was back in October, they had games where they beat the Bills, Chiefs, Colts, and Rams in consecutive games.
Yes.
All games, obviously, except all teams except the Colts that are still in the playoffs. So that tells you something right there, that when they're at full strength, they are a very hard team to beat. I think it's definitely that this future is bright for the Cincinnati Bengals team, but I just don't think they get it done this year.
Exactly. So you're taking them to cover.
I am taking them to cover.
I would take them to cover also. Probably the least anticipated game, Saturday night. I wish this was Saturday afternoon, so I could if I had something going on, I wouldn't feel bad about missing it.
Right.
49ers Packers. Packers are favored by 6 points. Do you think that's too small?
I think that's a good line. I'm still going to stick with the Packers in this one. I feel like if there's a wild card team that's going to make a run at a Super Bowl, I feel like it has to be the 49ers. However, a lot of that rests on Jimmy G, and it looks like he's going to be making at least one mistake per game, and it almost cost them last week against the Cowboys.
2 mistakes that pretty much cost them the game almost.
But I think it just comes down to quarterback play, and I don't think the quarterback play is going to be close between Aaron Rodgers and Jimmy Garoppolo. Obviously, the Packers are coming off a bye week, and they should, be somewhat close to full strength. I think the Packers do win this game, but I do not think they cover.
Wow. Okay. A big thing about that line is whether or not Nick Bosa, right?
Yes, Nick Bosa.
And Fred Warner.
Mm-hmm.
Both of them got injured last game.
Fred Warner returned, but Nick Bosa obviously did not.
He got a concussion. So we got to see if they're 100%.
That'll be
if they're not, this line, I would guess, is going to shoot up to maybe 8.
Yeah.
8 to 9 probably.
One thing to also keep in mind is Aaron Rodgers has never beaten the 49ers in the playoffs.
Wow.
So he's 0-3 against them. So he has not had, and that's actually funny because I believe Aaron Rodgers didn't want to get drafted to the 49ers, or it was I believe the 49ers passed on him. There was some I was reading some story earlier. I cannot remember, but there was a thing where the 49ers either passed on Rodgers or they Rodgers didn't want to go there, but that's besides the point. I don't know why I brought that up.
But if Nick Bosa plays, give me the under. If he doesn't play, give me the over.
Okay.
I'm obviously sticking with the Packers.
Right.
Jimmy Garoppolo almost costed the 49ers the game twice. So he's going to cost it at least once, and I believe Aaron Rodgers is going to take advantage of that.
Yeah. I mean, I'm still sticking by that. This is Aaron Rodgers and the Packers year to win a Super Bowl. I think it's about time they get another one. So we'll see what happens, though.
All right. So now there's 8 remaining teams left. All right. Let's go we went from top to bottom of most anticipated games. Let's go from bottom to top.
Okay.
Of just teams of like power rankings of teams. All right. Who's your number 8?
I think it's easy. I'm going to put the 49ers there. Obviously, they are the 6th seed, the only 6th seed remaining, the lowest seed remaining. Obviously, we just talked about it's a tough matchup against the Packers, but I think from a team perspective, they do have the weakest roster, but they do have a lot of potential they could pull off an upset. It's going to be tough, but they could.
I mean, they are the only wild card team.
That's right.
That won.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'll sledge them in at number 8.
Mm-hmm.
Who's number 7 for you?
I'm going to put the Bengals at 7. Obviously, they're still a very young team, and they've showed a lot in a short time. But I just think the teams ahead of them, the teams that I have ahead of them, are just a lot more apt to performing well in the playoffs and have more complete teams on both sides of the ball.
All right, I'll put the Bengals there too. I think those are the 2 easy ones to get out of the way. Now it gets tough. Now these are where those teams are like they're league championship contenders. Now we're talking Super Bowl contenders here. All right, who's coming in at number 6 for you?
For me, it's between the Titans and the Rams. Both have pretty complete teams, honestly. This is tough. But the issue that I have is with Matthew Stafford and his ability to turn the ball over. Obviously, he didn't make any mistakes in their game against the Cardinals, but in this upcoming game against the Buccaneers on the road, I mean, Matthew Stafford just picked up his first playoff game, and obviously Ryan Tannehill on the Titans hasn't had a ton of success in playoffs. He has picked up a good amount of wins, and he's made it to a conference championship, but I'm going to slide the Rams at number 6.
For number 6 for me, I believe in I believe in the Rams too. I do. I have the Titans higher.
Okay.
There's another team that I know that I will slot below them. But yeah, I'd have the Rams coming in at number 6. So who's number 5?
Yeah, it's the Titans for me. They do have a complete team. I do, however, worry that Ryan Tannehill is going to be the reason why this team loses. Obviously, even when Derrick Henry was playing, he wasn't playing at the same level we've seen in the past. And when I'm looking at the 4 teams above the Titans, I trust their quarterbacks a lot more. And in playoff time, when the game is on the line, you need a good quarterback that's going to be clutch when you need the most. That's why I have the Titans at 5.
For me, I'm putting the Buccaneers at
Okay.
5. Between Bucks and Titans, really.
Yeah.
Titans, like you said, they have a very complete team.
Yeah.
Brady is worth a lot, but man, losing Tristan Wirth, not having Chris Godwin, possibly not having Leonard Fournette or Ronald Jones. There's a lot of maybes.
Definitely.
A lot of maybes, and I don't think that deserves top 4 if you got a lot of maybes.
Right. I agree. I totally see what you're saying. But the difference is, in my opinion, is the Buccaneers have Tom Brady.
Yes,
the Titans have Ryan
true.
Tannehill. Obviously, both teams are going to be at home for this week, maybe next week as well. But for me, I mean, I still would take the Buccaneers defense over the Titans defense. Obviously, the Buccaneers offense has a lot more question marks than the Titans offense, just due to all the injuries. But I mean, you can make an argument for either one above one another. So,
I mean, coming in at number 4 for me is the Titans.
Okay.
I mean, I think if they were to play each other right now, I do think the Titans would end up on top. I think Derrick Henry would absolutely take over.
Would you change your mind if that game was in Tampa?
No, for those 2 teams, I don't feel location's that valuable.
Okay. I think. Well, so yeah, obviously 4 for me would be the Bucs, and the reason is I keep stressing that the quarterback play is a big thing for me, and obviously I think that even if the Bucs don't have someone like a Tristan Wirfs or a Leonard Fournette, I think with the energy that I felt in that stadium, even though it was against the Eagles, I think that alone will be able to elevate some of these players' performance. And guys like Keyshawn Vaughn and Giovanni Bernard did step up. Obviously, wasn't against a lesser team, but they still have Gronk, they still have Mike Evans, and they still have Tom Brady, who keeps breaking record after record. So it's really kind of hard to put him any lower than 4, in my opinion.
I do get that. Coming in at number 3 for me is the Chiefs.
Okay.
After what I saw last, I'm going recency biased here. The Chiefs, I don't know if they can compete if they were to fit. Like, we'll see if I'm wrong.
Yeah.
They can compete with the Bills. I don't know if they would be able to compete with the Packers right now.
Right.
I think they would be able to just beat the rest of these teams, but the Bills and Packers, those are my top 2, and then there's the Chiefs. They started off rough, then they got good, and then this past game looked kind of like how they were at the beginning of the season.
Yeah. This one's tough for me because of the 3 remaining teams, the Packers. The one weakness they do have is their defense, and that could be the thing that prevents them from winning a Super Bowl this year. Obviously, the Chiefs and the Bills both have better defenses than the Packers. So for me, at number 3, I'm gonna put the. This is tough. I'm gonna put the Chiefs.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna put the Chiefs. Probably a little bit of recency bias playing in as well, but the Chiefs, based off their last game, if they don't play a complete game, they're not going to be able to beat the Bills. And obviously, the Chiefs have probably top 3 quarterback in the NFL in Patrick Mahomes. And occasionally that defense just decides to not show up. And if they don't show up against the Bills, it may not even be close, honestly.
Yeah.
So I'll put the Chiefs at 3.
Coming in number 2 for me is the Packers.
Okay.
I have to wait to see what they are. You brought up their defense. That's their only skepticism, a little criticism around them. But Aaron Rodgers is going to be the MVP for the second year in a row now.
Yeah. I agree.
So I'm putting him at number 2. Coming in at number 1 for me is the Bills. Also recency biased. That was insane. That game was that performance by Josh Allen vaulted them into the top position. I think Bills could. We'll see if they can beat the Chiefs. I believe that it becomes their Super Bowl to lose now.
Yeah. I think for me, number 2 is going to be the Bills. I look at that game and I was impressed a lot with the Bills, but we also have to keep in mind that it was against a team that arguably shouldn't have even been there based off of some of the wins they had through the year. Obviously, they broke history. They broke records in that game. The Bills were just a complete team. Like I said, I do have the Bills winning this game this week against the Chiefs. However, I just think that when I'm comparing to a team, the Packers, who have been the best team in NFL for a large part of the season, obviously they didn't play in Wild Card Weekend, but I still think they are the best team in football, and they are still the team to beat. I think even with their defense being a weak link, I think their offense can do just enough to win in any shootout. Especially with Aaron Rodgers, I prefer him over Josh Allen because he's been there, done that. And even though the Bills have a better defense, if in a Packers-Bills Super Bowl, I would take the Packers. So.
All right, yeah. So that was the power rankings for the divisional round. We'll see how it ends up.
Yeah.
See how our picks end up, and our picks for this week, and then our overall bracket picks end up. Now we'll get to the new segment. It's betting time.
It's betting time. Yeah,
it's betting time. Where Jett has a few bets that he enjoys. Correct.
Yeah. A lot of these are like bets that you won't hear a lot about. A lot of them are like different player props, different scenarios that could happen. That if I was putting my money out on the table, I would throw my money onto some of these bets. I don't know if Eric would do the same with some of his bets, but I'll start off with a probably a bit of a long shot because the odds are at plus 900, and this bet is for any offensive lineman to score a touchdown. Obviously, we saw one offensive line for the Bills score a touchdown last week. I think another Bills offensive lineman is going to score a touchdown. I'll even give you a name. Deion Dawkins. He has 2 touchdowns in his career already. One of them actually was in the regular season. If the Bills, get on that 1-2 yard line, everyone will think it's going to, maybe Allen running it in for a QB draw, Diggs on the outside, but Deion Dawkins will get it. Plus 900. Obviously, I wouldn't put a huge amount of money on it because it is a long shot bet. But if you're feeling like a gambling man or woman, go to try this bet out. It's on FanDuel Sportsbook. So
yeah, I mean, you put
where it's legal, obviously.
Put $1 down, you win $9.
Yes, you do.
Figure that out, right, Jett? I'm looking through a few right now. Most passing yards. Oh, wow. So right now, the favorite for most passing yards is Tom Brady.
Okay.
That's the Rams defense.
Okay.
Then it's Aaron Rodgers. Then it's Patrick Mahomes. Then it's Matthew Stafford. Then Joe Burrow. Then Josh Allen's plus 600.
Wow. That's a good bet, honestly.
I like that bet. I mean, this is on FanDuel, and this is divisional specials right now. I like that bet.
That's a good bet, especially that game's going to be a shootout. I don't really see it not being. And if it is a shootout, obviously Josh Allen's going to be the one throwing the ball.
I would either take Mahomes or Allen in that game over anybody else.
Yeah,
but I would take out of the odds, plus 600 for Allen to have the most passing yards this divisional weekend.
Yeah.
I'm really feeling that.
Okay. So this is a lock for me. This is a player prop lock of the week for me. This is Rob Gronkowski scoring a touchdown against the Rams, plus 105 odds. Every time we see Brady and Gronk in the playoffs, good things happen. Gronk scored a touchdown last week against the Eagles. Wouldn't be surprised if he scores another one this week against the Rams. So I believe that's easy money right there. Obviously, you won't get a huge payout, but you will get a decent return on investment.
I'm looking right now. My lock of the week. What were the odds on your lock?
Plus 105.
Plus 105. Okay. So mine's just plus 100.
Okay.
All right. It's Derrick Henry and Joe Mixon to combine for 150 rushing yards.
That's easy. Yeah.
That's a lock.
Yeah.
Both teams. Both of them.
One of them is probably going to get 150.
Yeah. One can carry alone, and boom, you win an extra $100.
I mean, that's 75 a piece. That's
very capable,
very
especially
capable
against the opposing defenses. They're not very prominent run defenses.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
What's your next one?
Okay, my last one. Let's see what we got here. So I'm looking at the Bills Chiefs over under, and that's at 54.5. And we think it's going to be a shootout, but I just feel like to bet the over on that is too much in my opinion. I'll say it's under, but not by much. I think it's around the 50 to 53 range. Honestly, I think we're looking at like a 27. I just can't see it going. I can't see both teams being in the 30s. So I'm going to say like 27, 24.
Okay.
Not a crazy shootout, but there's still a decent amount of points put on the board.
You'd be a little nervous if it got that 51.
I just think over 54.5 is too much. I do.
Okay.
Then we're looking at potentially like what 30
to 25.
30 to 25. Yeah, I mean it's obviously it's possible, but I like the under. I do.
All right.
I do.
I mean, I'll talk about the money line in general for this game.
Let's hear this.
It's a simple bet. It's nothing extraordinary. You're not like risking it all. It's the Bills are plus 108.
And if I put 100 down, what would I get?
108 back.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's not. That's for the Bills to have what I would. They're minus 1.5.
Yeah.
And then you're given it's minus 1.5 on the spread.
Right.
But the money line itself is plus 108. I have spread wise, I almost have a 50-50 shot at hitting.
Definitely. Yeah, I think that's a great bet. I would definitely make that bet if I was able to, and I'm sure you would do the same. So
yep. If I was able to. Sadly, we live in Florida.
Yeah, we do. So that will not be happening. But for anyone listening, where gambling is legal, we highly advise you maybe checking on some of these bets, especially on FanDuel Sportsbook or wherever you place your bets, because we feel like some of these are going to win people some money this week. And we'll definitely, going forward, we're going to continue this new segment. We'll talk about other sports as well as we get into other games.
But also remember, we are not legally responsible for any.
That's correct.
For any bets that you make on your own.
That's correct.
That is your guys' personal choice.
Yes.
You can take our suggestions.
Just advice, not
just advice.
We don't
take it, leave it. We don't care.
We can't predict the future. We can only advise on what we think is going to happen. But obviously, take that with a grain of salt because we are not experts.
Remember, guys, we are not gambling men.
we are not gambling men. But yeah, so
yeah, we got everything. Is there any other news that you feel the need to talk about?
I'm just hoping that the MLB gets their act together.
The MLB. First proposal was made last week. Last week. And still apparently the Players Association was not happy with the proposal, which they never are.
I think we're in serious danger of games getting canceled because obviously pitchers and catchers are scheduled to report in February, and we're almost at the end of January. So
I wouldn't mind having a shortened spring training.
Yeah,
there's been in conversations anyways about shortening spring training. I think it's too long anyways. It causes for an increase in injury.
I think players would be against that though, because obviously it takes a while to get your timing down. And for first day of spring training, guys are. I mean, they're the best players in the world, but
they should be practicing every day.
Yeah, but it's nothing like seeing that that opposing pitcher that you saw last year throwing 95 plus, and you've been hitting off your batting practice coach who's in his 60s throwing like 80 miles an hour. I mean, it's.
I'm not maybe like shortening it a week. What is it, like 5 weeks long? Is spring training 5 weeks?
It's about I think it's like 5-6 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah.
Shorten it to a month of baseball. Come on. We've seen people get on hot streaks.
I could just see the type of thing where spring training starts later, but then it ends later, and then that cuts into potentially the.
Well, I also don't mind cutting off a few games. Bring it down to 152 maybe.
Yeah.
150.
Yeah.
I think it needs to be a lot more, but obviously you can't do that because owners don't like that because it's a loss of profit. No. But cutting it down 10 games, it adds more rest days. Definitely. and it just less stress on the body.
Definitely.
And then you could possibly move playoffs up to where then you can have your time before really getting intruded by the NFL season.
Right. Hopefully this gets resolved soon. It doesn't seem like there's been any progress.
Do you think there's going to be any big changes with the negotiation? Like any universal DH is going to be included in the new CBA?
I think we will see universal DH. I do
this year.
I do believe it's going to happen this year.
Let's go.
I do.
That opens up players' chances because it opens up an entire half of the league.
I think it's good for both sides. Obviously, you create more offense. Obviously, some pitchers aren't going to be happy, but you give another guy an opportunity to be in that lineup.
Bumgardner, who's a bum now in Arizona,
and it's not like we're saying pitchers can't hit. Like if you want to give a pitcher an at bat, and if you trust him more than one of your pinch hitters, like that'll still be allowed. But I just think we've seen too many injuries with pitchers, whether it be on the base paths or in the box as well.
Exactly, and it opens up like for example for my Yankees, Gary Sanchez. All right.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he had a rough hitting season, but like now you can open up an entire half of the league for a guy that is not great on the field to just be a DH.
Right.
Because he can't be that for the Yankees.
Right.
Because we have Giancarlo Stanton already filling that role. So it just opens up players' opportunity a lot more. So I see the Players Association being for it, and I wouldn't see why the owners wouldn't be for it because it adds more action to
the only people that are against it are the guys that like the traditional game of baseball. The
get out of here, old heads.
Yeah, I mean we're in a new era. Like obviously analytics plays a big role in it, and no one's really bunting anymore because of that. So I think we're seeing a new wave of this game, and hopefully we get back to baseball soon. So.
Yeah, absolutely. Can't watch it just be fixed like that. Some GM hires could be happening soon.
That's right.
Because coaching has to start soon. Like my Giants. Hopefully this week I hear some news.
Yeah, I saw a graphic on CBS, which so they predicted some of the landing spots for some of the coaches that they actually had the Giants getting Brian Flores. And my Dolphins getting the Chiefs OC Eric Bieniemy, who has not been interviewed, and I haven't really heard much of his name being thrown around.
I thought should be a coaching candidate.
He was the hot name the last few years, but apparently it might be because the Chiefs are missed their playoff run, and he just doesn't want to deal with any of that right now. But there's a lot of coaches that are though, so I don't really know.
Yeah, I've always thought of him as a potentially a really good head coach. Great offensive mind, obviously, as you can see, under the Andy Reid tree, and that's been more successful than let's say like the Belichick tree.
Yep. So definitely.
But yeah, that was episode 38, the Curt Schilling.
Curt Schilling episode. Yeah.
All right, guys. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see y'all next week. Peace out.